I am Dorna Moini. I'm the CEO of Gavel and a former attorney. I started Gavel because I saw firsthand how much time lawyers spend on work that could really be accelerated with the right types of tools that make them more efficient. And so that's why we're here today. Today, we are very, very excited to unveil Gavel Exec, which is a product that is really built from that belief. Our CTO, Pierre Martin, who you'll also hear from today, has some expertise in AI infrastructure, really deep expertise in AI infrastructure. And he previously led teams at Amazon and Microsoft. So we'll have a lot of interesting information for you there. We also have an incredible team of engineers and lawyers who you guys, many of you who have been with our core product, have seen over time that have really combined deep domain expertise in the legal system with advanced AI to bring you a tool that works the way that lawyers work. So as we're going to introduce you, Gavel Exec, I really want to note that this is not a generic AI assistant. It's really purpose-built, deeply embedded a legal teammate that really understands the context, the precedent, and the nuance of your work. And most importantly, it lives exactly where you're working every day, which is in Microsoft Word. This is something that I really want to have be the center of your minds as we're talking about everything today. The next generation of legal technology is not about replacing lawyers. It's about really giving them superpowers. So in the legal world, we're seeing a big shift away from thinking of AI as a novelty and really towards thinking of it as an infrastructure. But one of the biggest challenges with AI isn't just making it powerful, it's about making it usable, trustworthy, and really domain specific enough to handle the real legal work and the real complex legal work that you all are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. That's what we've always worked with in Gavel Workflows, our document automation system, and that's what we will continue to do as we develop our product in the Gavel Exec sphere as well. Many of you here have probably used AI tools before, but speedy AI without the accuracy and the trustworthiness means nothing. It's just rework that you have to continue doing. So our a little bit later in this presentation, but you guys have also seen this with Gavel Blueprint, which is our AI that turns documents into automated workflows. And you're going to continue to see this as we roll out more features in both Gavel Workflows, our core automation tool, our rules-based automation tool, and Gavel Exec, our AI assistant. So before I launch into a bit of a demo on what we're doing, I want to also share a little bit behind the thought process on why we're building this. So as you know, Gavel is end-to-end automation. And historically, we've been end-to-end rules-based automation, building tools that help lawyers like you all collect information and then generate really tailored, perfect documents quickly and accurately for your customers, for your clients. And that's still the big foundation of Gavel. And for many of you lawyers, specifically many of you who work in transactional areas, the next step after that drafting is contract analysis, negotiation, and determining what is exactly inside of those documents that you're looking at. So we asked ourselves and many of you guys, what would it look like for us to extend our presence into that piece of the workflow? And that's exactly why we built Gavel Exec. It lives inside of Microsoft Word. It brings AI-powered redlining and drafting and playbook support right to where you're already working. And we've worked really closely with lawyers to, even before today, the official launch to the public, to understand what matters in the transactional practice and to build custom playbooks for certain areas and not just surface edits. So today we'll be starting with a demo of Gavel Exec and showing you everything that it has to offer. I will share my screen in a minute to walk you through all the core functionality. I'll be showing you chat, AI redlining, and our playbooks. We are making additions and changes on a literal daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. And so you will see that even just in the next week, we will have a ton more features. But I think you'll find what we have here today really powerful. I also invite you all to go ahead either now or right after this call to go and download Gavel Exec into Microsoft Word. There is no demo required, no credit card required. And the reason we did that is because we know that the results you're going to get from this product are going to be so good that you're going to love it. So we're not locking you in any sales-like way. We just know that you're going to find these really, really powerful results. So, and then after that, I'll pass it over to Pierre, who will go through the context behind the AI technology. We'll go over a few of the FAQs that we often hear, and then we'll launch into a Q&A from all of you.
All right, so in this demo, I'm going to walk through the core capabilities of Gavel Exec, which are redlining, revising, running playbooks, and drafting new sections from scratch. So Gavel Exec is designed to handle really complex multi-party agreements, but I'm using a simple consulting agreement here today, so the functionality is really easy to follow in a short demo format. In the top right, you'll see we have the chat tab and the playbooks tab. You can also see your chat history and create new chats in a new session. Chat is really open-ended, so it allows you to pretty much do anything. It's like your assistant, and that's where I'm going to start the demo. So the first task I'm going to give it is redlining. So let's say opposing counsel or a client sends you this consulting agreement, and you want to
so that you don't get stuck in the circle
or don't match your firm's standards. I'm going to go over here into the chat box, and you can also always extend this if you want it to be a little bit bigger on your screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be as specific as possible with my prompt, because the more specific you are, the better results you're going to get. And here I'm going to say, review this consulting agreement and redline any clauses that are non-standard for a typical consulting agreement. And I'll specify that this is with a software company to give it more context. And I'll specify that I especially wanted to look at areas of termination, indemnification, and IP ownership. I am also going to load a document. So I just loaded this consultant agreement right here, which is a sample agreement that I wanted to look at for context. You can add and upload as many documents as you want as context here, and that will really help refine your results. So I'll go ahead and run that. And here we go. So you'll see that it's identifying the problematic clauses and it's inserting red lines with what it's suggesting in track changes. And one of the things that's really important here is that Gavel Exec is context aware, meaning it's not just going line by line through your document and making changes like many AI tools that are out there do. Rather, it's looking at the context of your entire document and any documents that you load as context, and it's giving you suggestions. And then I can go ahead here and click on any of these changes, and it's going to take me to that section in the document. And then I'm able to then, you don't have to reject them, but just if you want to clear your view, you can reject it, or you can accept that change. And when you accept that change, it's going to insert all the red lines that you have accepted. So what powers this experience under the hood is Gavel Exec's proprietary AI architecture. Unlike a lot of traditional tools that apply one general purpose model to everything, we use task-specific AI agents that combine the right model for your job and for the thing that you're actually asking it to, whether it's redlining, revising, or answering a complex question. It really models the full context of your document, your reference materials, and even past behavior that you've had specifically on your own instance before making any suggestions. And of course, as always, we never train on your data. So all of that data only helps improve it for you and your own firm if you choose to have the rest of your firm on the platform, but not for anyone else. Okay, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to revise a document. You don't need a clause library anymore because Gavel Exec has you covered. So as an example, let's say I want to change the assignment clause. I brought us to a new session here, just so we have less context of the prior edits and we can make these fresh. And I want to revise this document to allow the consultant to assign the agreement to an affiliate or in connection with a sale of their business. So what I'll do is I will prompt it. I'll say revise the assignment agreement, the assignment clause to allow the consultant to assign the agreement to an affiliate or in connection with a corporate transaction without requiring client consent. I'll go ahead and click on that edit that it's providing to me. And as you can see, it takes me to the section. And not only has it added additional language here, but it also fixed some typos that I had in the document, which is great. Go ahead and accept that. And of course, if I didn't like that section or I wanted it to be written differently, I can always collaborate with it. That's the really great benefit of chat is you can go back and forth with it to get the best result that you want as you would with an associate who is working with you. Note also that you can look at the entire document altogether. As you can see here, if I click away, the scope of the changes that we're chatting with is the entire document, or I can also limit it to a specific section. So if I just highlight that section, it'll only be looking at that section when I'm asking it questions. While we're on the topic of red lines, I want to take you over to playbooks, which is right up here in the toolbar up here. And playbooks are rule sets that let you define how your firm wants to treat different clauses. So they help ensure consistency and reduce the time that it takes to review your documents. You can choose from Gavel's playbooks, or you can create your own. Now, I'll go ahead and run the independent contractor consulting agreement. And I went ahead and cleared my playbook session so that none of the rules are met or not unmet. And basically what I'll do is click run playbook. And this is going to go through my entire document point by point with these checklists and look at the rules that I have. So I have rules for every single one of these sections that are already set up through the Gavel playbooks. And it's going to look through those, tell me why it might have failed, and then also give me a proposed change for what needs to change, what needs to be added. What's also important is that these rules will interplay with each other. So
I need to probably be leaving here at 7:30.
Make sure that it's making edits that are synchronized across the different rules as well. Now, moving back to playbooks, we can go look at your playbook. So you can also create your own playbook. You can create new, give it a title, and I'll go ahead and go into my playbook, a new one that I just created for consultant agreement, and I'm going to add a new playbook. I'm going to talk about my assignment clause here, and I'm going to give it some language. And this rule box, the description, you can add as much detail as you want to make sure that you're giving it tons of detail on what to do. So here, I decided that I'm going to give it a rule, and then I'm also going to give it some suggested fallback language. Go ahead and create that rule, and you can create as many rules as you want. You can run the entire playbook altogether, or you can just run the one rule that you have. In this case, it's telling me that my rule is met. And so I can move on.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
So hopefully that was a helpful demo of the process. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Pierre to talk a little bit more about the technology behind everything.
Hello, good to meet you, everyone. Dorna, if you could let me share my screen, that would be great.
Should be able to share it
All right. All right, I'm very excited to be here, very excited to unveil Gavel Exec and tell you more about the technology, mostly because in a way I feel like my life's work has led to this point. And for a little bit of context, now almost 20 years ago, when I was in grad school, my PhD work was on making algorithms as optimal in using compute and memory resources available pretty much on my laptop or on my local computer, because this was actually before cloud computing existed. And for Gavel Exec, I feel we've taken back to this mindset and really pushed ourselves to think about, besides using ChatGPT in Word, how can we make the best use of existing small and large language models to best use the resources that are available to our customers? And there was a bit of an experiment a few months ago. And when we saw the results, we realized, whoa, actually, there's something really meaningful here. There's real technology that I think can give you quick, fast, and accurate results in the context of a legal assistant. So we're here with Gavel Exec. This is our first unveil, but we're bringing you cutting-edge AI directly into your legal documents. And as Dorna said, this is really not your typical ChatGPT in Word type of assistant. Those are proprietary AI agents that we've built from the ground up here at Gavel. They're deeply integrated within your Microsoft Word to make it frictionless to work with this AI assistant. But it's also importantly built to understand and map the full context of your work, meaning your current document, your attachments, anything else you want to give as context to the assistant before making any suggestions. And in fact, the way we've built it means that it's actually affordable. You can try it out for free, but it's also secure by default. Look, I've used ChatGPT for coding before. This is kind of how we were doing it 2-3 years ago. And I'm sure you've used ChatGPT for help in some of your legal drafting. And it's okay, but it doesn't solve the full problem. And typically when you use that model, I'm sure you've done something like this, where you prompt ChatGPT or Claude or some other large language model, passing it a document. And what it will do is, first of all, it doesn't fully understand the legal context of your document. And it will try to give you some response, approximate, but then it's up to you to really sometimes go into figuring out how to do tedious merging in your Word documents. Now, with Gavel Exec, we kind of flipped the whole thing around. We thought, well, actually, AI should be smart. So first of all, before you ask AI anything, the AI will actually take the first step and really try to understand what you're trying to do here. It's going to build a full map of your document, really deep understanding of the clauses and their relationships, but also their relationship to other attachments that you've given it, other project information you've given it, your interaction history, so it can adapt and understand what you're trying to do. And then you can prompt it. But when you prompt it now, it has the understanding of the full context. And you can prompt it not to give it an answer, you can prompt it to do something. Right? This is what an agent really is. It's actually working for you. So instead of giving you an answer, the agent will figure out how to
I think you're
directly
not
work
seeing your
with the document.
slides, so you might want to put those up. I just realized your slides are not up and you're reading from your slides.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Are you?
Perfect. We can see them now if you want to just make it a full screen, because the visuals, I think, are very helpful here.
So your agent will build the full context. You can prompt it to do something. You can prompt Exec to do something on your behalf. And the agent will decide directly how to work inside your document and how to work inside your document. It's going to figure out whether it needs to insert a new clause, it needs to redline an existing clause. And in fact, it's smart enough to know if it doesn't know, and it will ask you for more precision. So this works because in a way we've decided and we figured out a way to cleverly mix small and large models. Remember when I was saying we really push ourselves to try to optimize how those models use available compute and memory on your computer? This is what's happening. Specifically, this is what's happening when we're trying to build the full map of your document and really understand how things fit together. And then we've actually optimized each of these agents using those models to design at the best speed and accuracy for the appropriate task. In fact, the reason it works so well for legal is I've pestered Dorna for weeks. In fact, we've worked with our customers for even longer than that. to really try to unpack and understand the process that lawyers go through when you have to review redline drafts and so on and so forth. And so we kind of broke that process into small tasks, and we've designed these agents to be the best at performing that small task. And in fact, not all of them require calling a very large language model, right? It's a bit of an overkill. In some cases, we work very well with small, compact models that are designed appropriately for the task. And as a result of this optimization, we're in a place where our results, our assistant gives the impression, and in fact it is, stunningly fast and accurate. In fact, many of our early adopters left other Copilot type of products because it felt way more in context, way more understanding of what you're trying to achieve by prompting the agent. Those agents are designed to work at a senior level, right? And a senior associate is actually senior enough to know that sometimes they don't know, right? That's kind of the basis of the work here. And so in the same vein, our AI is aware that it doesn't know enough and will ask you for more context or precision if it feels like it doesn't know how to do the best job possible. But also, it's smart enough to understand the tools available within your Microsoft Word editor and use the right tool, right? It's going to use a redline tool if it needs to redline. It's going to use a drafting tool if it needs to draft, inserts, comments, and so on and so forth. In fact, it's just the start, right? We're adding more and more tools to make this a deep part of how you work with your Microsoft Word editor. And it takes direct action into Microsoft Word, so you have no friction. You don't need to copy paste. You don't need to figure out how to merge. It has all this intelligence for you. And in fact, it works directly with your format and style because it has that context as well. Now, we've built this very disruptive technology, I think, and we realized, well, this is actually just made for small firms. Because the way we build it, there's no setup or pre-training required, right? Some of these AI assistants that are built for large firms require several weeks, sometimes months of pre-training, right? You have to give it more and more documents to train the model. And let's be honest, right? As a small firm, you don't have the time for that. In fact, because the way it's built, it's actually affordable. In fact, it's free to try. And we decided, well, why bother you even with a sales call or an onboarding call? Of course, if you want to speak to us, we'd love to speak to you, but you don't have to. You can try it for free, no credit card required, and see the results for yourself. In fact, the way it's built means that it's also secure by design. We're actually using the context of your document, and that document remains local to your laptop. We don't store your documents, we don't train on your documents, and we don't train on your prompts. It all works this way. This is just the start, right? What we're launching today is the core technology, the core brain in your Word add-in, but it's designed to be extensible. So we'll add more sources in the future for better context. Imagine that suddenly we can get context from your case management system and other databases you work with. But we'll also increase the agent's integration with your Microsoft Word editor. Think being able to do more things inside Word like autocomplete, auto formatting, cross-referencing, searching, and so on and so forth. So this is just the beginning of something that I feel is very, very powerful. It can really help you practice at the top of your industry, really. So I'm very excited to announce Gavel Exec, but I'm really more excited for you to give it a try because we build this for you. You can start your free trial at gavel.io/exec. And with that in mind, I will pass it back to you, Dorna.
Thank you, Pierre. Excellent. So there have been a few questions so far in the chat that I wanted to answer before I dive into the FAQs, and then we'll dive back into another Q&A session. So one of the questions that we've gotten so far is edits. So I know on the version that I showed you guys, I made lots of heavy edits because I really wanted to show you the power and the type of language that it can use. You don't need to have heavy edits on your document. So it all, especially on the chat side, it all just depends on your prompt. So if you say, I actually did this myself with a document that we got from a customer who needed us to sign something yesterday. I used Gavel Exec on it. I said, I'm basically going to accept this agreement, just flag the highest risk items. And it just flagged one provision in the entire agreement that it said I might want to consider. So you can ask it to edit very, very lightly. You can ask it to edit aggressively. You can ask it to just edit to market terms. This is also where playbooks become really useful. Another question in the chat was, what exactly do playbooks do? So playbooks are a set of rules with what provisions you will accept or not accept and fallback provisions. So for example, you might have a non-compete clause, and let's the legality aside, let's just think about the non-compete and what someone will accept. You might say that we never accept a non-compete clause for any of our clients that is more than 1 year. You would create a rule. You would say non-compete clause is the title of the rule. You would describe that you don't accept anything for that's more than 1 year. And then you might even include some fallback provisions or some suggested language for how you want that that language to actually look inside of your document. So I think those were all the questions that I had seen so far, and it looks like there's more questions here. I just want to, before I dive into the other questions, I wanted to walk you through one last quick set of FAQs, which is also covers some of what Pierre covered. I think very important for you all to be thinking about as you're deciding AI tools that you're going to use for your firm. These are questions that we get all the time. Does Gavel store my documents? No, we never store your documents on Gavel. That's always in Microsoft Word, and those are never ported over to Gavel. Does Gavel train on my data? Never. We never train on your data. We never train on your prompts. Your data is only used to get better results for you and is never used in our training models for any other customer. Your data is completely isolated. And then security. So all of your data is segregated, fully encrypted, and all of our databases are compliant with SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR or CCPA, depending on what your jurisdiction is. So you can also check out a few more of our specifications on security if you go to gavel.io/security. Super, super important for us because we deal with the legal space primarily. And now I want to dive into a bit of a Q&A, but I already see that there are some questions in the chat, so I'll touch on some of those first. First question I see, great to see Dennis Doc just used it on a document with the command and it improved readability and was great. I had a suggested prompt up there as well in the chat for someone who asked to edit lightly. Greg Warren asked, does this integrate with regular Gavel or is this something totally separate? For example, if I'm able to give a client a web link and then have them fill out some questions and then have the document automatically processed through AI. So that's a really, really good question. It's not fully integrated with Gavel workflows yet, but that is something that it is in our roadmap. What I've heard already from a few of our early customers is that they are taking documents that are being built in Gavel workflows. And then if they want further edits, they just take it right into Word and they make those edits with Gavel Exec. So a deeper integration is coming in the future, but not yet available right now. Would this allow me to upload an existing redline and have the AI create an issues list based on the redline edits? Yes, you can do that. And as you may have seen in my demo, you can also load context documents. So let's say I am looking at a share purchase agreement and I have 5 other share purchase agreements that I think are the perfect style. I can load those into Gavel Exec and give it a prompt like redline this other document based on these other 5 documents that I've attached. Drafting from scratch. This is something that I actually was thinking about doing a longer presentation on today, but we didn't really have as much time. Drafting from scratch, you can definitely do in Gavel. In fact, last week, I had a customer who told me he started with a document that was about 10 pages long. And he drafted that with Gavel Exec. He said, I want this, it was a very more obscure document type. And then he had specific clauses that he wanted to add into it. So he, piece by piece, started prompting the chat to add in a paragraph about a specific thing that he wanted to include. And in the there's an interesting concept in the technical space, in the engineering space, called vibe coding. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. Raise your hands at home if you have. But the idea is that you are sort of vibing with the technology. You're not just asking it to do something and stepping away, but you're really interacting with it in a continuous basis to get the best results. So this particular customer told me that he started out with this 10-page document that was drafted by Gavel Exec, and then over time of asking it to add more and more clauses, he actually ended up with a 40-page document that had many, many clauses in a document type that he hadn't drafted before, and apparently it was a very good result. So that's one way that I highly recommend drafting from scratch, is going by piece and really understanding what you want out of your agreement. Okay, so just going to go through some of these questions one by one. Does it suggest Gavel data codes from workflows? Not yet, but we have some additions to our Word add-in that are coming soon. We're working on some really special things on our Word add-in to have AI incorporated in the Gavel workflow side as well. So coming soon. What is the underlying AI technology? Pierre actually answered that question in the chat. It's a combination of language models. Some are the mainstream LLMs, and some are the smaller open source models. So we really believe that to get the best results, you need to pick the right tool for the task. So we've tested that significantly, and I think it's really one of those situations where the proof is in the pudding. I invite you to go test this out and see the results. If you've ever used any other sort of AI, compare the two next side by side. We know that you're going to get the best results based on what we have done to make this the best platform possible. Someone asked about saving chats to the Word file. Very great feedback. We don't have that right now. The chats are saved to your Word add-in, and you can obviously clear them out and delete them. But we are constantly taking feedback. So if you have any comments, you can email us. I'll drop our email in the chat, our exec. If you email exechelp@gavel.io, we answer very quickly, and you can also give us feedback that will very, very likely be in the next iteration of Gavel Exec. All right, lots of questions. Just going through these here.
I would pick one from Ed Wester, if you don't mind, Dorna, asking, how do you think this will help in doing estate planning legal work?
Great question. So we, in the early data that we have so far from estate planning attorneys, one of the things that they're using this for, I'll mention two off the top. One is you have an estate plan that you've already drafted and you want to update data throughout it. So you can use Gavel Exec's chat to update all different sections based on new things that may have happened in your client's life events. The second thing is adding in clauses that you may not have already had inside of your documents. So for example, we had someone doing a pet trust and then some additional pieces of information inside of their estate planning documents that incorporated technology advances and what that means for the estate plan. Those are areas where you can, like I showed in the demo, highlight a particular section and ask it to redraft and make suggested red lines to see exactly how it can really vibe with you to give you really good results. All right. Estimated date for when features like convert to words will be available in Spanish as well. I'm actually not sure what that one is. So if you want to give me a little bit more color, I can answer that question. Gavel workflows, lots of questions about Gavel workflows. That is definitely in our roadmap. Could you address the ability to load default comments that will be used when redlining? That's a really good question, and that takes us over to playbooks. That's where I would highly recommend you incorporate those. The idea behind playbooks is you have instruction sets for each of your rules, and in those instruction sets, you can have obviously the actual rule, what you accept, what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept, what you believe is market standard if it's different from what our data says, and then what your fallback language is. So that means what is the suggested language that you'd like to use. So you can be very detailed in there saying, my preferred language to use here is this, and then just paste that in. The more detail you give it, the better it's going to, it's going to perform, and the better results you're going to get. State-by-state jurisdiction support. You should see that we have a lot of data on state-by-state jurisdiction support, and we do have data on what the differences are in different states. Obviously, as always, you are the lawyer, and make sure to double check everything, but we do have a lot of data inside of Gavel Exec for that. Yes, absolutely. On technology updating, we are making changes on a daily basis to incorporate new features, and we also definitely will be as the LLMs are being released. As Pierre said in the chat, we typically benchmark the new models as soon as they're available, sometimes before if we get early access to them, and we always keep that architecture updated for the best models for the task. And we've also done that with Gavel workflows, with Gavel Blueprint, for any of you guys who have used that. I see a comment about training Gavel Exec for uncommon law situations. And yes, definitely. So your version of Gavel Exec is learning from you. So everything that you're adding into that chat is learning from you. But where this is going to be really powerful is we have a feature called projects that is coming out very, very soon. You'll probably see it in the next, the engineers always hate when I mention deadlines, timelines, but hopefully we'll see it by next week, late next week. And there you'll actually be able to upload context documents to a specific project and keep it isolated in that project, context instructions for a specific project. So you can even do that for specific clients if you wanted to. That's going to be really powerful. For those of you who are current Gavel customers, Gavel Workflows customers, this Word plugin is a different sign-in. So as I mentioned, eventually we will integrate everything and it'll be even more seamless. But right now you do need to create a new login for the Gavel Exec Word add-in. Can the AI show math? We haven't deeply optimized or tested for math, but that's definitely something that we'll be looking at more. And if you have any comments or things that you want it to correct, send them our way and we'll make sure to optimize on our end as well. It's not the math section is not an area where we've optimized as much, but it should perform at a base level. Multiple user discounts, if you can email us at exechelp@gavel.io, we can definitely talk about those multiple user discounts.
And I will add that very soon we'll introduce a team plan.
Yes. So lots of features coming even in the next few weeks. Good question. So chain of thought, that is a really good question. It does provide that. Pierre already answered some of these in the chat, but I'm just gonna rehash them for everyone in the live session. You already will get that inside of the chat, and if you want more, you can actually ask it to give you more thought. It is really reasoning with you inside of that process. Clause library, good question. That's also where I would incorporate your language inside of the playbooks, and then you'll also be able to put those inside of the chat to make sure that it's using your style and your language.
Yeah, I think one idea there, I forgot who mentioned the clause library, is if you already have a clause library and it's downloaded into a Word document, a PDF, or a CSV, you could just attach it to your chat for context, and our AI should be able to pick up the right clauses.
I'm looking at the rest of the questions. Can I fine-tune Gavel Exec? Yes. So Gavel Exec uses your past interactions, the attachments to the playbooks, the projects that are coming soon, and that will make sure that you have results that are really specific to you. Really, one of our goals with this technology is, you probably have all heard of the very large firms hiring teams of engineers to help them build purpose-built AI for them. We want to bring that to small law firms everywhere to have access to the same amazing technology, but at a affordable, low cost, that's scalable, and that enables you to do that with your own data as well. And I think the rest of the questions have mostly been answered. Can you use this to modify Word documents? You can, yes. So go ahead and try that with the Gavel workflows documents you generate, bring them into Word, make edits to them, ask it questions, really treat it like an associate. And then, good question. Someone just asked, expected rate of hallucination. I think at a high level, I would say that much of the work that's being done in this platform is not as much the legal research work. It's most of the transactional work. So you'll likely have an idea of when you're looking at these edits, whether it's in line with the types of edits you would have made or not. But would be very interested to hear your thoughts on any results you get and anything you want us to work on. Good question about transforming a document into a double column one. I haven't tested that yet.
We have not tested that. That would be, that's the example of tools we would add to the AI to work better within Microsoft Word. So if it doesn't work, let us know, and we'll quickly.
Checking in on my way to lunch. Okay.
And so the last question I see here is, we would like to run a free trial before committing. In the trial, can we add a playbook and see how it works? Absolutely. So during your trial, you'll have access to 15 runs. You can ask it questions. You can create playbooks and run the entire playbook. So you'll hopefully get a really good picture of how it works, how much you love it before you commit. We really believe in building tools that people love first and then buy, rather than locking you into any sort of sales process or contract. What does it cost? $160 a month. And we will have an annual plan available soon as well, which will be at a slight discount. And then, as we mentioned, if you do have teams, reach out at exec-help at gavel.io, and we will be able to help you get your team up and running. Then I see one more question that I missed here. From an estate planning attorney, where does a newbie start who doesn't really understand how to use it? Great question. I think I should probably actually make a video for estate planning attorneys specifically, and I'll send it out to everyone who's an estate planning attorney in our newsletter. But where I would start to begin with is, after you've generated your documents inside of Gavel workflows for your estate planning documents, think about what you would actually ask your team or yourself to do with that document. Check for consistency, like all of the prompts that you would give. Check for consistency. Change certain clauses. You will be able to do that in a very interactive way with the chat. And I'll put together something more robust for estate planning attorneys very specifically very soon.
Dorna, why don't we start maybe a series or an office hour where we could just build and review and draft and redline together with anyone who wants to join? That's a really great idea. We'll set something like that up. It's a great idea. All right, amazing. I think the questions are slowing down now, and we are about 1 minute before our scheduled end time. So thank you all for joining. We appreciate you all for being part of the Gavel community and trusting us with the really incredible work that you all do. And we are looking forward to being your end-to-end automation suite and being a bigger part of your practices, and hopefully pushing out many, many more features that you will love. Thank you all for being here.